out here and say Berry Gordy was a real shitty dude. Not that this is Berry Gordy specifically, but it is Berry Gordy specifically.
But I love that you say that as if this movie doesn't make him look like a piece of shit. Like, this movie definitely makes him look bad. He's the antagonist of this film. You're just reminding us all at home that he was a real person. It's not just Jamie Foxx.
I don't think he's dead yet, shockingly. Is he? He might be dead.
You would know better than I would.
I don't think he is. Is Berry Gordy dead? Nope, he's still kicking it. He's 94 years old. That's crazy.
Holy shit. Holy fuck.
He's got 8 kids, and I'm willing to bet that was with a slew of women who he employed.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, Barry, if you're listening,
kick
fuck
rocks.
You. Yeah. Kick rocks, bro. Honestly, you don't even deserve to have Jamie Foxx be your representative on film. They should have got some fuck-ass, jank-ass. I'm sorry, like, I know that this movie is from 2006, but I cannot fucking stand an Evil Music Manager-ass movie. I'm sorry, it's my pet peeve. I know that this movie probably did it long before a lot of others did. I'm not saying it invented the trope, but I'm certainly not, like, I'm not giving it any forgiveness because I'm just, like, I am so over. I know it's based on real life. I know he's a real guy.
I was gonna say, no one invented the trope because it is a real thing. The music business is disgusting. And, I mean, it's disgusting today. I could not imagine what it was like in the 50s and 60s.
I mean, even, like, with every year that passes, I'm sure the year before was just, 10 times worse. I mean, going back that far...
Especially as a woman, and especially as a black woman, props to every woman who came out of Motown, every woman in general, but especially...
Shouts out to every woman, A, women in Motown, but B, any of you, really, any woman. Congrats, making it through another day.
It's, what's that quote from, Diary of a Wimpy Kid? What do you have to say to women? I'm sorry, women.
I'm sorry, women. That's every man in the music industry has to provide a Roderick-based apology to every woman that they've ever worked with.
Literally, like, please.
Oh, hey, hi, this is our podcast. It's called The Swamp. It's an acronym.
This stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And today, we're embarking, this is, like, kind of a vague month, and I don't really know how good we're gonna stick to it, but we're doing, like, first appearances theme, generally. So, like, for this one specifically, we were hitting Jennifer Hudson. This is her first, like, thing on film that she did. Granted, she was famous before this, so I don't really give this movie the credit of her, like, discovery, but I think I would give it credit for, like, her fame, like, post-American Idol fame, because we can get into that. But our theme for this month is sort of, like, first, very, like, Dominic Sessa in The Holdovers vibes, right? It's their... Introducing this individual. But also at the top of the pod,
Introducing April.
Yeah, introducing April. Wow, that would be a really good name of, like, a biography if your name was April. Introducing April, that's kind of catchy.
Right, a little bit.
But at the top of the pod, I also wanted to promote that next week we're going to have some guests. We've invited some guests from the Pop Culture Vultures podcast. I'll link it in the description below if y'all want to check out their podcast before we collaborate next week. And I'll spoil it. We're going to cover Monster House, which I'm like... We told them they did not have to stay on theme, or, like, pick whatever movie you want, and they were like, Monster House, and I was like, oh, that fucks. So I'm pretty excited. I think Mitchell Musso, who played, like, the friend in Hannah Montana, is, like, the voice in that, and that movie came out way before Hannah Montana. So I'd like to make the roundabout argument that this is introducing Mitchell Musso, but that's kind of not
I'll take
good.
I'll take it.
But you suggested we cover this movie this week, and I was kind of interested to know if you had, like, seen this before, like, what your history with it
Never
was.
Never
Really?
once. We had this idea for this month, and we were talking about what options we had, and all of our ideas were kind of heavy movies. So I did a little digging, and I was like, oh, Dreamgirls seems like a good one. Light, it's a musical, but also this was a roundabout way of being timely and talking about Beyonce, since her new album just dropped.
The St. Texas. I will admit that the only, what's it called? Cowboy Carter. The only Cowboy Carter I have listened to so far has been what has been on TikTok. So I haven't actually, last night I was like, oh, maybe I should listen to this album before we, like, do this podcast about it. And it's long. That album is long. And what is it about song titles that are in all caps that I'm like, I'm freaking out now? I'm like, I don't know why. I'm looking at a list of 30 songs and they're all in caps, and I'm like, I can't read all of them.
Now I'm panicking.
I'm sorry. But from what I've heard, I do enjoy it. I'm typically not a country person, but of course Beyonce is doing this thing lately where she just picks a genre and she's like, I own this now, which I just fucking love.
It's
she's
true.
Like, yeah. She's like, I am that girl. She is the #1 music artist in the fucking world. Say what you want. Say it's Taylor Swift to my fucking face.
Shit.
It's not. It's Beyonce. Like, it's Beyonce. So I'm
sorry,
that.
Taylor doesn't have the range. Taylor is dog shit. I have a lot of issues with her. I think she's a bad person.
Yeah, I mean, the jet fuel can't melt Taylor Swift's steel beams aside.
Yeah, her threatening to ruin someone's life for sending out her flight logs.
Yeah, I tend to take a neutral stance on her because the Swifties will send you your own social security number. Like, you say something bad about Taylor Swift, the Swifties are like, I'm actually outside your house. The Swifties scare me, for real. But that whole album of the year thing at the Grammys, I definitely was like, I feel you, Beyonce. I'd get up and leave too, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I am always a little slow to the Beyonce music releases. Like, whatever's like,
it's a lot at once.
And I'll usually do like whatever's like, you know, trending, like charting or whatever. I'll know those ones. But it took me quite a while actually to go listen through Renaissance. Like, it's like
so
probably like
good.
Like the better part of a year, and then I was like, oh, this fucks. Like, this is so good. And I had only really known like Alien Superstar, but I was like, oh, this is good. So I feel like probably I should just buck up and listen to the 30 songs of Cowboy Carter. I just
do it on your commute.
I have a tough time with country. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. I also admittedly haven't listened to all of it. I've taken the time to listen to her Jolene cover though, and that does tickle me.
I also just love how everything she does just pisses people off, and she just is
it's so
God.
Good. Yeah.
Like, she just, like, you think that being mad about Beyonce, like, means anything to anyone, you fucking asshole. Like, people who are like, country, like, she's ruining country music. I'm like, dude, she owns country music now. Like, I'm sorry to tell you.
Country music was already ruined. I hate to break it to you.
But that's sort of like, I like, think I don't like country music, and then I'm like, maybe I just don't like Luke Combs, you know? I'm like, maybe I just don't like what is popular. I'm like, maybe I could fuck with country, because I can get down with, like, I don't know. Dolly Parton, definitely. John Denver. So I'm like, maybe I just need to broaden my horizons.
Old school country is good. Okay?
Like, modern, like, racist country from fuck-ass white men. I'm like, can you even sing? No. Are you just a man with a deep voice? Yes.
It's just 4 chords. It's all the same chords.
I mean, I love me some Tracy Chapman, but Henry and I had this ongoing thing that, like, when we would hear the Luke Combs cover of Tracy Chapman's Fast Car out in public, we would, like grip each other's arms and be like, we gotta get out of here. Because it was just, there was that hot time when it was just, like, it was omnipresent. I couldn't get away from it. I was like, this song isn't for you, sir.
It felt disrespectful.
Yeah.
Honestly, is what it is. And on that note, all of the Eddie Murphy songs that they had in here, first of all, putting Eddie Murphy in this movie felt disrespectful. And then making me listen to 3 shit-ass songs and, like, saying that that's what Motown sounded like at a certain point. Obviously, like, to a degree, it did. But, like, it was bad. And Motown does not sound like that.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy's kind of, I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast a lot before, so I'm not going to get too into it, but you can, maybe I'll link an article in the description below, but if you want to educate yourself, Eddie Murphy is a piece of shit and probably paid hitmen to kill trans women who he was spotted sleeping with, and he didn't want to, you know, catch that flack by the media, so he, like, literally had them killed. It's pretty fucked up stuff. Eddie Murphy is a piece of shit, and it's not even one of those, like, I'm gonna separate the art from the artist. Like, we all love some donkey from Shrek, but, like, no, fuck that guy. Like, that is irredeemable. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was surprised that he could sing. I didn't realize that he could even do that, because it wasn't great. Especially when you're being put against the other musical talents in this movie, of course you're going to fall short. Like, literally, Beyonce was falling short, which is fucking crazy.
Yes.
Crazy. So, like, Eddie Murphy, I was kind of like, I see what they're doing here, but Henry actually informed me that Eddie Murphy did try to break into the music industry at one point and had a hit song, Party All the Time, and he played it for me, and I was kind of like, yeah, I guess I can see where this is, like, he can sing, but he cannot sing. Like, he's not good. He's good enough to, like, make a dance track that it gets famous because he's Eddie Murphy, but not for any other reason. But I was kind of like, oh, I didn't really realize that was a part of his career. I guess I'm just not really educated on Eddie Murphy, because I'm like, I'm gonna stay away from that.
Why would I need to be? I grew up listening to a good chunk of Motown. I was very enamored with it as a kid, almost. I loved the Jackson 5, and I remember watching, there was, like, almost like a TV movie, Jackson 5, Michael Jackson movie that played on, I'm not even sure what channel, but anytime it was on, I would have to sit down and watch it, and I was so enamored. And I always just loved Motown music, so listening to those tracks that they threw in here was almost insane, because I know that this is a real life musical, and I'm assuming those songs were in the musical, but I hope to God they weren't.
Yeah, at some points it did seem like they were trying to ham it up, like, we're hamming it up, look, it's like a parody of Motown, but other parts of it were so genuinely
and,
supposed
like,
to be, like, a retelling of this, like, era in time and how it was for these women. Like, that, the hammy stuff, I was like, this feels a little out of place. Like, yeah, the Jackson 5 bit, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I understand that it's a retelling of stuff that actually happened, but yeah, certain things about it just felt a little odd, or, like, off to me. The pacing was a little weird, the storytelling was a little inconsistent, but overall I do think it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself when I watched it. I liked the way that the songs were integrated into it, and it made me think a lot about, like, newer movie musicals, or, like, movies that are based on Broadway, you know, anything you're doing from the stage to film, and how I just think that a lot of, like, newer movie musicals could learn a thing or two by looking back at the Chicagos and the Dreamgirls, which, same screenwriter, which that kind of made sense to me. Yeah, the guy who directed this movie, he wrote the screenplay for Chicago, which did so well that they basically were like, here's $80 billion. You can do anything, because Chicago fucked. So you can do anything you want. He was like, okay. But, you know, they were like, we want another musical. And so this same guy, he had written it, and he wrote this, and he directed it. And I think maybe that's where, so we lose a little bit. I don't, like, maybe he just didn't have the directing thing, because it felt a little bit to me, the choppy, cutty storytelling of this was slightly reminiscent to me of Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, where it was a little bit, like, edited in, like, these choppy, glamorous sequences of, like, montage sequences of, like, we're speeding through the story because it's gonna take place over 40 years, or 20 years, so it's like, oh, we're just gonna, choppy, jazzy, and I'm like, that's okay a little bit, but at a certain point I'm like, am I watching a movie or am I watching a music video? Or, like, a snappy 15-minute YouTube documentary, you know?
This is a TikTok edit at this point.
Yeah, for real. In 2006, so ahead of your time, sir.
Yeah, truly. Yeah, I did not like the pacing. It was really hard for me to believe that Jamie Foxx and Jennifer Hudson were involved with each other. Also, I just don't think Jamie Foxx is that good of an actor. I don't know. I don't know if it's that he's not that good of an actor, but I don't think I've ever believed that he has had a romantic love interest that's, like, believable in a movie. Like, he doesn't have chemistry with any of the people that he's ever put up against.
That didn't bother me so much in this one because it was so clearly like a shitty manager like taking advantage of a younger, impressionable woman who like needed to like quote unquote like do what she needed to do to like, you know, get up in the business or whatever. So that didn't bother me so much here. I don't know if I've seen enough of his stuff to really say. I really just think of Django when I think of him. I've never seen the Ray Charles movie, so I can't really speak to that.
He was good in that.
Yeah, I don't...
I take it back. But, like,
I would have to...
He felt weird in this to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, and his character was, like, he was our antagonist, but he was sort of, like, in and out of the picture so much that I would kind of forget about him almost. And then he would show up again, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, like, I guess you are the source of all the problems. But it's like, I wanted more about the relationship between the girls, of course. Like I wanted it to be more, you know, two queens coming together to maximize their joint slay. Like, that's
which
more what I wanted.
Which we got in the last 5 minutes. Meanwhile,
like,
for the first 40 minutes of this was the Jamie Foxx and Eddie Murphy show, and I could have done without that. It was way too much.
Yeah, I did think the pacing of this was weird, but I almost, like, gave it the free pass because I'm like, maybe they're just being kind of true to the stage production. But from what little research I did online, I guess that they actually did, like, really condense some parts, and we got a lot less characterization of Effie. Like, a lot of the comments of diehard musical fans that I saw were like, oh, in the musical, Effie's actually really funny.
I bet.
Like, she's sort of the comic character. And we didn't get that. And, like, that's no hate on Jennifer Hudson, because I'm sure she did everything she could with this role. That's my EGOT, like, yeah. But I'm like, oh, I would have liked, you know, more of that. I don't know, or more about their experience in the music industry, like, as themselves, not through the experience they had with men.
It was just very frustrating because I couldn't tell if I was supposed to be rooting for Effie or not. Because in the first half, I was like, yeah, you are kind of horrible. You have a shit attitude. And, I mean, yes, I understand that you're the best singer, but also this is kind of a team thing. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to root for her, and it felt like they wanted me to root for her, but I couldn't at first. And obviously, it's kind of like, becomes an underdog story, and she gets her time in the spotlight, but the first half of it was very weird, and you can tell it's condensed.
Yeah, I guess, like, there were, like, whole songs that they just, like, reduced to a line or two of dialogue, basically, where people are like, yeah, they really were ripping through. But, of course, you can't make, you know, a 3+ hour stage musical into a concise movie. Like, I get it.
Yes, and my understanding of it is very much that it was... The musical is one of those ones where it's 75% singing. There's not a whole lot of dialogue in between. It's more on the verge of an opera. So it makes sense that they have to cut some things. But I just know there was better material in there than some of the things that they gave us. Obviously, we get the big numbers from Beyonce and Jen, and... I mean, there's a couple more as well in there that I'm like, okay, these are good. But there was just enough in there that I was like, this is kind of shoddy.
Yeah, and it was like, I was pissed about, I'm like, I don't need to see Jamie Foxx in, like, his car dealership. I'm like, I don't need his backstory. I want the girl's backstory.
Yeah.
You know, I want more of that. But again, I guess I do have to remind myself that it's 2006, right? I'm sure this movie wasn't made, you know, it's a movie predominantly about the Black experience in the music industry in the 60s and 70s. It's all starring, there's nary a white character in sight other than Jump Scare John Krasinski.
Oh my god, that was horrible.
Which a fact that a movie like this got this kind of budget and attention, I think is really, you know, I don't think people in 2006, like, movies like this were getting that kind of attention a lot. So I think it's a good thing. But of course, I think they had to skew the story to be, like, traditionally, you know, what people would expect to see, which is the romance and the drama, and less of, you know, the girls coming together, right?
Yeah, it's
like,
just a shame.
Of course they had to, like, write it that way. I think the casting is phenomenal. And that's the thing that I think that the newer movie musical adaptations could really take a note from. I think this and Chicago are phenomenal examples of that. You cast the performers, not the actors, right? So if it's about singing, you cast singers.
Yep.
Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson were not actresses. They are singers. Yep. And then you get them to act. And they did a great job. I think, I don't know if I want to make the argument that I would rather have a singer who's not a great actress than a great actress who can't really sing. You know, if this movie was like three phenomenal actresses who like could sing but not like this, I just don't think this movie would be what it is. And the same as Chicago, I know that those two actresses are actresses, but like they were dancing like that. Like that's fucking crazy. Cast somebody who can do that before you think about their stature and fame as an actor. Or like a Hollywood personality, just because the one that the newest movie musical that I saw that I just felt this way about was Mean Girls.
I didn't see it.
They just it was a lot of fun, and as someone who really likes the original Mean Girls, I like had a fun time with it. But like they clearly cast a bunch of people who are well-known actors, but like not great singers. I think also the Steven Spielberg West Side Story comes to mind with Ansel Elgort,
specifically,
who was a very famous actor, but you put him next to Rachel Ziegler, who can sing the house down boots, and you put him next to Mike Faced, who's tap dancing his little twinkle toes off. No, sir, you're gonna look a damn fool.
He looked ridiculous.
Like, and he did. And he did.
It was that was another movie that came to mind for this month, like introducing because Rachel Ziegler. And mind you, I'm not sure if she had done anything before that or not, but it was very much like her moment in the spotlight. And everyone in that movie is very good. Super good.
Because they're Broadway people.
Exactly,
They're people who had...
It makes such a difference. People that have been on the stage, putting them in front of a camera, next to someone who has never done stage work, like, you're setting them up to fail. Because they're gonna look like a fucking idiot. And he did. Yeah.
It was the exact situation also in Mean Girls with Miss Renee Rapp, right, who was Regina George on Broadway. Like yes, like she understood the assignment and she got it done, and she was the best part of that movie. And then poor what's her name, Angourie Rice.
God.
Poor Angourie Rice. But she's like a fine actress. I wouldn't even say fine. She just is like nothing to me. Like she's never done anything that I've been like she was like the quirky daughter in The Nice Guys, which is about enough credit I'll give her. And she can't sing either. And so they just put her next to Renee Rapp. And I was like, no, girl, you're not Lindsay Lohan, and you're not standing out next to Renee Rapp. And I like felt bad for her. I was like getting secondhand embarrassment because I was like, oh, this is rough.
Yes.
This is rough.
Like, just even thinking back, we had this conversation like, last week or 2 weeks ago about Romeo and Juliet. You can tell the people who have stage acted next to people who have never done the stage before. Like, I mean, and then you go ahead and you think of some of the most brilliant actors today. First one that comes to mind is Andrew Scott. What is he? A giant stage man. Which, speaking of Andrew Scott, shout out to the Fleabag haircut that made an appearance in this, the Claire cut.
Oh my god, I literally wrote down, I was like, Beyonce's hair in Heavy Heavy, it's French.
It's French.
I look like a pencil. It was like, I was literally taken aback.
I guess.
That's, Miss Phoebe Waller-Bridge was watching some 2006 musical cinema when she was putting pen to the paper for season 2, honey, because that, it was an exact replica. Literally. It killed me. But yeah, I just think more, because you make a good point about stage acting, right? And that would be especially pertinent in something like a Shakespeare adaptation. The same way that being an actual singer who has sung on stages would be pertinent for a role like this, right? And it makes sense here. And the Beyonce choice in this movie is astonishing to me, because how the fuck did they manage to get Beyonce to play the character who is arguably the worst singer of the trio? How? Crazy. And you're getting her to basically reenact what had just happened over the latter part of the last decade in her own career. So not only is she's like, I just thought that people who say Beyonce can't act, I'm like, where?
I thought she was phenomenal.
Where is it? She's 8.
Seamless. Like, some people are just naturally very good actors, and some people have to really work for it. I think that, and mind you, I think Beyonce does a lot of work to make herself seem effortless. So maybe that's it. Maybe she, like, worked her ass off for this, but you cannot tell. She is solid.
And I was just like, the fact that she's in the role where Jamie Foxx says to her, like, your voice has no depth and personality.
Crazy.
Like,
I'm not buying it.
I was like, oh, and then she goes and sings Listen. Oh, shook. I did not know that song was from this movie. I did not know that.
I didn't either.
I thought that was a Beyonce song. I thought that was one that she just did and had.
Could have been.
Truly, the only thing I knew about this movie before watching it was Jennifer Hudson is going to sing And I Am Telling You.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I knew.
And my ass will be sat. And that's it. That's literally it.
Yeah, I will say it is entirely evident that Ryan Murphy based the entire character of Mercedes off of Effie in this movie.
Yeah, that checks.
The whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that checks. And this movie is like a wild example of like early 2000s like fat phobia.
Yeah.
Because they're like calling her big this whole time, and I'm like, she simply is 30 pounds heavier than the 3 size 0 women you're putting next to her.
Yeah.
Like, she's actually just an incredibly normal looking person.
Girl,
right?
she's wearing
like,
a size 6.
right. And they're like, no, but we put you next to Beyonce, so you're a cow. Like, it's like anyone would. Literally anyone. But it's wild. I don't have too great of a memory of this time, obviously, because I was 10 years old. Yeah, but Jennifer Hudson came in 7th place on season 3 of American Idol.
That's crazy.
7th place. EGOT, Jennifer Hudson, had 6 people above her who made it further, and I feel like I have to say, American Idol is the public gets to vote, right? It's not about what professionals think of you. It's that America calls in. And I'm like, was it really like that? Because, I mean, Fantasia won the season, so you can't really chalk it up to racism, because, like, a black woman did win the season. But it's like, did people just have some sort of bias against her? Because she is, Fantasia's great. Jennifer Hudson's a better singer than Fantasia. And Jennifer Hudson was a better singer than the other 5 people in between her and Fantasia.
I'm certain.
Like no doubt about it. And I just have these distinct memories of her becoming, like, the commercial face of Weight Watchers. Do you remember this? Like, right after this popped off, like, right after she really skyrocketed to fame and sort of had shed the American Idol label, she was no longer, like, the American Idol contestant. She was her own sort of celebrity. Yeah. I just remember being a kid and seeing her on Weight Watchers commercials and being like, she looks fine. Like, I don't know why they're like, look at this obese celebrity who we need to slim up. Like, the early 2000s were fucking crazy about that shit. Because they're like, if you're not Paris Hilton with your hip bones protruding out, then you need to get on it.
Now it's even worse. Because you see
surgery.
all of the... surgery, Ozempic, rampant.
Did you see Donald Trump on the Ozempic?
What?
Donald Trump is looking skinty. He looks skinty. He's looking...
Oh my god.
He's looking like he's on it, I think. I wonder if it'll kill him, though. Like, can old people like that be handling? It's the Ozempic for men now that's really been racking my brain with just, like, we live in a fucking simulation.
Oh my god. New Easter photos? Hold on.
It also just could have been, like, Twitter nonsense that I was seeing. But I was like, he does look skinny.
He does look a little skinny. That big-ass suit is looking a little bigger on him. That unfitted ass suit. It is an epidemic, though. I am horrified to learn in the next 5 years what the after effects of that are. Is it gonna shrink your heart?
I'm like, I don't know. I like my round face.
I'm okay with it.
It's okay to have round features. It's, Let's all just love ourselves. No, I'm like, getting work done is one thing, but like taking medicine that's not meant for you is another. Like, I'm like, girl, if you want to get your lips filled, like, go for it. If you have the money and the energy to do that, like, I support you. Do not be taking diabetes medication when you straight up do not have that condition.
It's diabetes medication?
Yeah,
that's what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god. No way. Is Ozempic for diabetes? Ozempic, generally known as semaglutide, was approved in 2017 by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for use in adults with type 2 diabetes. It's a weekly injection that helps lower your blood sugar. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And now, dude, the amount of commercials you see for it now, too.
Yes, everyone and their mother, and it's now getting. It's not just a elite upper class thing.
No,
I know people who are like
gay friends.
They're on it. It's wild. It's whack. And yeah, who's to say what that's gonna do to your body?
I mean, your life. Do what you want to do, I suppose, but like, yeesh.
Justice for Jennifer Hudson, because like,
yeah.
Also, I was like, some of these outfits they were putting her in were just so unflattering that I was like, you're doing it on purpose at this point. Like, of course you are.
Literally.
That's the point. But I was like, I'm just like, the 2006-ness of it was really giving me the heebie-jeebies. But yeah, she just became an EGOT in 2022. I didn't know that it had taken her that long. Because she won Best Supporting Actress Oscar for this movie. And this was, her season of American Idol had been just in 2004. So this was only 2 years after.
That's a tight turnaround.
Yeah, which I'm like kind of shocked because I feel like a lot of people who are on those competition shows, if you don't win, you're sort of like, that's it for you, right? Like,
yeah, they kind of just toss you aside.
It also, not to get on an American Idol rant, but
please.
It does really make me think about how there was a time where everyone in the country, not everyone, but a fucking ton, like millions and millions of people, sat down at the same time and watched the same program and called in and interacted with it. And then that was the thing that you talked about with your coworkers, right? I just feel like we don't have that. Like, since the streaming boom, there are shows that are popular, but there's nothing that's like gripping the nation, right? There's nothing that it's like, this is the only thing, so I'm gonna get into it, right? Like, we just don't have that as much anymore. And I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just interesting that's gone. That like we don't really how would you even go about trying to make that? Like right now, if you were to like make a pitch for like, we need a show that's gonna appeal to everyone, that everyone will watch and talk about. Like that's impossible. And I guess just
you also need to get on the streaming service that everyone has. And what fucking streaming services every single person have these days?
Yeah. My theory also is that they're gonna combine all of them together, and it's just gonna be a cable package. Like in the next 3 years, we're gonna see it's gonna be called like Plus. And you get Netflix, Hulu, Paramount, HBO, and whatever, all for like $150 a month. And it's cheaper somehow, and that's just, you're just paying for cable. Again, you're just paying for cable.
Just reinventing the wheel.
Right, because we're gonna have to at some point, because advertisers are like fucking going crazy trying to figure out how to advertise products on ad-less streaming services. But now every streaming service is like, if you want ad-free, they're like, if you want it to be ad-free, it's going to be another $10. And I'm like, why don't you just shoot me then? Like, I'm sorry. That's when I went to advertising school. Weird fact about me. I did that. I don't use my degree. I'm in so much debt and I don't use my degree. Love that. But all of my professors who were like older are like, well, none of you guys even watch commercials anymore. So, like, what's the point? And I'm like, no, you just need to, A, that's incorrect, and B, also maybe just, like, be more creative with your, like, strategy to reach people. I don't know. Every time I see an ad, it makes me hate that product because I'm pissed that I have to watch an ad. Like, good marketing is through other means. It's not a fucking annoying commercial that's interrupting me from the thing I want to be doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Mind you, I watch an advertisement almost every, like, 3 clicks that I'm scrolling through people's story on Instagram. So yes, I do still get ads across my eyes, as much as I would love to not.
I, like, always, it freaks me out when I will like a post, because it looks like something that would just be on my feed, and then it, like, pops up that it's an advertisement. Yeah. I'm like, oh, you just know the inside of my brain. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to, like, take my head and slam it under a window.
Yeah. Which is why we don't run ads on this podcast. You're welcome. And if you would like to support us, you can go subscribe $2.86 to our Patreon. Those of you who do, shouts out to you. I'm pretty staunchly, like, I don't feel like that would contribute anything to this show, even if it did give us some monetary advantage. I'm like, I'm not reading you an ad for a fucking mattress. None of you are going to use promo code SWAMP to get a Casper mattress. No, I'm sorry. I know all of you 18-year-old lesbians are not doing that. You still live at your parents' house, and it's like, so do I. So
yeah, it seems degrading to both you and me. If I had to do that, I couldn't. And what are we gonna get? Like, an extra $10 a month? I'm good. Well, I'd rather...
So many of them are contingent on the listeners using the promo code, and I'm like, I'm not gonna ask you guys to do that. Like, that's weird. I don't know. No hate to other podcasts that do it, because I get it, but it's just like, that's not for me. I
will say, for the first time, I did buy something off of a podcast ad very recently.
Oh my god, what was it?
So...
And you're embarrassed. You're embarrassed right now.
This is a little intimate, but I feel like you guys already know me well enough. As a person who is on, what the fuck are they called? Antidepressants? What are they? Yeah. SSRIs. Yeah. It is terrible trying to get horny. Your body and your brain, not always connected. But I was listening to The Bald and the Beautiful the other week, and there was an ad for these, like, THC gummies. And they were like, we have figured out with, like, a specific, like, concoction of herbs and weed.
Herbs and spices.
To make these, herbs and spices. The perfect edible to get your pussy jumping, and I said, bought.
I'm not going to ask you if they worked, and I'm not going to ask you to say the
I haven't tried them yet.
This is not an endorsement. This is simply a conversation between two people who are on... Antidepressants. We're on different ones, so sometimes we'll have, like, a little chat of, like, so what are your side effects? Like, let's do a little Venn diagram. What do you... I have that too. Oh.
I'll tell you what. I just started... Because I take Lexapro. I have been taking a nap almost every day when I can squeeze it in for the last, 2 years. And I had forgotten that was just a side effect of me taking that. So instead of taking it in the morning, I've been taking it at night. These days, changed my fucking life. I can get through the day without feeling like I'm gonna fall asleep at my desk for an hour.
Well, welcome to my life, bitch.
Well, you're always you've got several other issues.
I'm what they call clinically eepy. Is that I'm just, I'm just a little guy. I'm just so eepy.
Oh my god. Speaking of little guys, I'll tell you what. I loved that one little girl, Effie's child in this, who
acted her ass off.
Just for that one scene of her looking up, watching her mother sing, achieving her dreams, just tears rolling down our cheeks. It was beautiful. She did a fantastic job.
Yeah, shouts out to you, what was her name, Magic? Shouts out to you, Magic. You really, you ate that up. But
which
again...
I also wonder if her character had more to do, like, with the actual stage version of the show, I feel like I just really need to see the stage version, because this doesn't seem like it did it justice, and I'm assuming that the stage version was much, much better.
Yes, we got to the point where Jennifer Hudson does what nobody else has ever done on film, which is just sing that song so perfectly. When she sings, and I am telling you, nobody else has ever delivered a musical number on film the way that she did that. I was just so taken aback, and I was like, okay, we can end the movie now. Like, after that happened, I was like, okay, what else is possibly gonna top this? And I know that they can't move it to the end. It's in the musical. It's in the first, act or whatever. But I was just like, holy shit. Holy, like, she trampled on that. She earned that Oscar and then some, because the thing about that scene that kind of cracked me up, though, was, like, she's obviously they're lip syncing. Like, they're all lip syncing in all movies, basically all the time, unless it's Les Mis. But she's, like, lip syncing, and she is wailing. She is hitting those notes, and she's, like, right next to Jamie Foxx's ear, and I'm like, his eardrum is destroyed, decimated. Like, she's, like, going in to give him a little smooch, and she's, like, hitting a high A above C, and just, like full chest belting, and he's just, like, standing there and taking it. I'm like, sir.
You would see, like, the brain fluid, like, leaking out of his ears.
He's, like, starts to get a nosebleed, like, fucking 11 in Stranger Things, because his brain is working so hard, like...
His spinal... It's like, when someone hits a note so high that it, like, shatters glass, she just does that, but it's, like, with his spinal cord.
Like, literally... Literally, though, she's, like about to whisper in his ear and then just full-on belting. I was like, that man is dead. Like, that man is... It's like, this is so bad, but do you know that episode of South Park, The Brown Note? It's...
Yeah, it's iconic.
It's like that. It's like that, except this man is just dropping dead, like...
Oh my god, you just brought that back from, like, the depths of my brain as a child. Jesus. Every
once in a blue moon, I'll, like, watch a South Park episode, and I'm just like, like, that show was iconic, I'm sorry. I know, problematic as it may be, that show is kind of iconic.
Yeah, I'll give it to them. Yeah, also, Beyonce looks the exact same as she does right now.
Oh my god, yeah, she's, like, got that Annie Hathaway plastic surgeon who is just really doing a good job. I also think, of course, it's not hard for rich, famous people to look really hot because they, like...
Of course.
They only eat kale and work out 10 hours a day and all of that stuff. But yeah, Beyonce looks phenomenal. She didn't even, like... I wasn't like, oh, baby Beyonce. I was like, no, that's literally just Beyonce. I wanted to know about you, like, did a really... in-depth college-level report on Motown, right?
I did.
So did you have any thoughts about, like, this movie as far as, like, of course it's, like, a kind of a campy, overdone, exaggerated representation of one specific group, which it's supposed to be Diana Ross and the Supremes, as far as my understanding.
The writer alleges that it wasn't strictly based off of them. Exactly.
Oh, like, come on.
And mind you, yes, there is tons and tons and tons of groups of women that made fabulous music. But married to, like, essentially Berry Gordy in this, it's literally Diana Ross.
Yeah. And there was the whole, I was looking into it, I didn't know too much about it. But no, I was going to say that Jennifer Hudson played essentially what was Florence Ballard, who was in The Supremes and was objectively a way better singer than Diana Ross. But of course, Diana Ross was the one who got really famous just because she was the one that they deemed that she had, like, the star quality. But Florence was the one who was, like, she was hitting those notes, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was obsessed with the scenes in this movie where they'd be doing their little trio shit. And then Jennifer Hudson would just start, like wailing on it, and I'm like, oh, girl. It's very, Beyonce and Destiny's Child
Oh,
concert
yeah.
when they're singing Say My Name, and she's, like, really ripping on it, and she just keeps saying, say Beyonce. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know that I've seen that.
I'll put the link in the description. That video is so iconic, and you can tell the other two are over it. They're doing their little harmonies.
I love it.
Their little say my name, and Beyonce is, like, fully doubled over because that's how intensely she's singing and just, like, putting her own name in the middle of the song because she's like, I'm the star. And I was like, I love that for you, and I love the self-awareness to then be in a movie like this. Like,
Fuck it.
Icon.
Exactly.
But even
iconic.
that third, what was her name? Lorella was, what was
Something
the third?
like that. I don't know.
I kind of wrote her off in the first act. I was like, seems kind of unimportant. It seems like it's really going to be about these other two. And it primarily was, other than her, like, relationship with Eddie Murphy. But she had a couple of moments where she was singing, and I was like, oh, girl, you're eating too. Like, she was also kind of eating Beyonce up in a couple of scenes where I was like, oh, like, okay, I see how this is. But I do think that all of the, like, modern day pop girlies should have to have, like, two doppelgangers on either side of them just doing choreography. Like, I think Chapel Rowan should get two redheads.
My God.
And they can all do Hot to Go together. Like, I just think that the little choreo, the little hand swinging, and the, like,
it would make me too insane, Dara. It would be too much.
I know. One Chapel Roan is enough. Like, too powerful. But imagine if, like, Olivia Rodrigo just had two other girls who looked just like her who stand next to her, and they all did little show choir choreography while she just sang. Like, that would be
cute.
so funny.
So
that would be so funny.
Yeah. Motown, brilliant. I will give it to Berry Gordy. He was a genius. He essentially, for anyone who doesn't know, Berry Gordy created Motown. Really kicked it off with Smokey Robinson. Just a handful of different groups out of Detroit. Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross and the Supremes, the Jackson 5, Stevie Wonder. I mean, I don't know. You guys aren't idiots. You know what music is. And he based the entire label off of the way that cars were constructed, off of an assembly line, basically. So he managed the entire thing front to back of these groups, which was genius. Because usually you have to kind of, like, go out of house to do certain things for that. Who's gonna publish it? Who's gonna, I don't even know. It's been so long since I was in music school. But I do wish that this got into, like, how much he worked those people. They toured almost non-stop, and he grinded them down. He also paid them close to nothing. Hardly any of them got their royalties. It was like a fraction of the money that they should have. They got cut so many shitty deals, which they kind of touched on in this, but not really. I kind of wish they talked a little bit more about that. And Berry Gordy would also have them pay back every single expense that they would occur, which would be, like, mandatory, like, dance classes, basically. And it is very much, if you do the research, because I also kind of, I did another project about K-pop, it's, like, the exact same thing. The K-pop industry is insane. It's like these kids sign away, like, the first 10 years, I mean, like, 10 to, like, 20, like, years old. They're in, like, a dance and singing, like, a K-pop academy. And if they don't get signed to a label, they still have to pay back all of the costs that they incurred there. And they have, like, a probation period where they're, like, in a group, but they can get dropped at any time. And there's also, like, so many clauses of, like, they can literally just have you go in and change your face. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because there's a very specific K-pop look. There's a whole clause of, like, you can't be in relationships with people because these girls are romanticizing being your girlfriend, and if they see you with another person, it I mean, it halts like sales, shit like that. It's very similar, and it's also very interesting for anyone that is interested in music business. Those two are really cool to look into.
Cool as in, like, fucking terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Mind you, I don't know what the state of K-pop is today, but I imagine it's kind of still the same. I know that it's just more and more groups popping up. But yeah, I kind of just wish that they got into, like, a little bit more of how Berry Gordy was shitty. Because, like, you can tell that he's shitty, but, like, he was a lot shittier than, like, they even depicted him in this.
And they were just sort of like, he's a womanizer, like, he's two-timing these girls. Like, it was really, like, solely based in his romantic entanglement, and then obviously positioning him as this sort of smarmy music producer guy who's, like, ripping songs from other people. But definitely,
He did that all the time, dude. There was, I think I kind of did a refresher before this to get myself back up to track. But I think the Jackson 5 had released like 150 songs or something like that with Motown. And then they went to switch over to Epic Records after like they had spent 6 years there. And he would go and they had recorded close to 400 songs. Mind you, they would get picked and chosen and like given to other people or just not even released at all. They got billed for every single song that they recorded. So they had to pay back whatever the expense of, like, recording another 300 and something songs was. Like, that's it's crazy. Wild. Yeah, payola shit, too. Crazy.
And that's why the evil manager is the antagonist in every musical biopic ever made. Because...
Yeah, literally. Because they are.
Ooh, not to get off track, but the Amy Winehouse shit that just came out.
Don't get me started. Don't even... I knew it was going to be dog shit from the moment they announced it. I knew they were just going to shit on her grave. It's so disrespectful. Mm-hmm. I'm so livid.
Mm-hmm. All my homies hate the Amy Winehouse biopic. None of my homies will be going to see it. Fuck that shit. And I feel so bad for that actress because it's not even her fault. Like, it's just everything about it is just awful. Like,
Amy Winehouse got exploited so much in life. Can we at least let her fucking rest?
Yeah.
It's crazy. If you want to know about Amy Winehouse, go watch the Amy documentary. That's a very good documentary to watch. And actually, like, shows you who she was as a person and how fucked up the industry was towards her.
Also, if somebody died, like, less than 20 years ago, maybe let's not make a biopic about them. Like, why are we creeping? Why are we creeping with these biopics so close to, like, how recently people have passed away? I'm like, can there be, like, a clause, like, it has to have been X amount of time? Because I'm like, this feels a little weird.
Right? I'm waiting for them to put out an Arctic Monkeys biopic. And I'm like, Alex Turner is alive and well.
Also, absolutely not. Any biopics about, like, that type of musician is not a story. Like, oh, I don't know. Those guys are all creepy. And, like,
there's enough of them. There's one about the Smiths that I don't think got very much recognition, but there is one about the Smiths.
Yikes.
Yeah, right.
But I do think more biopics or, like, musical movies in general should take this approach where it is, like, a dramatization, right? It's like this through the fictional lens, right? This is Diana Ross and the Supremes through a fictional lens. Let's do that. Let's go back to our roots of changing names and shit, and then actually just writing a movie rather than trying to, like, tell a person's life story. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we want to get into our regularly scheduled programming, absolutely. I am kind of slacking this week. Wait, let me get my phone because I'm about to read off some ingredients. I kind of had a hard time with this one. Oh wait, we'll start with Fuck, Marry, Kill. Do we just want to do the three main girlies, or do we?
I guess. I am not someone that has the composure to deal with Effie's bullshit.
No.
As much as I'm glad she got her justice, I am not giving you everything you want. I can't. It's simply not possible. Mm-hmm. But I'll still fuck her.
Yeah.
I'll give you one thing you want.
Yeah, right?
So I'm gonna fuck her. I'm gonna marry Beyonce in this because she seems like still an interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Miss Lorella, she
did nothing. Nothing. Sorry, Lorella. They just really did not adapt you well in this, so I'm gonna have to kill you.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely would like to have Effie as, like, my personal alarm clock. If she could just, like, roll over in the morning and just, like, hit a note to shatter my eardrum to get me out of bed, like, that would be kind of nice. But, yeah, I don't know if I could handle being her wife. So I will also marry Beyonce. And... yeah. I feel like I would just, if in any other situation, I would just kill any of the men in this movie. Like, even what's his name, Cece, even, like, kind of the good ones, I was like, nah, fuck you. Like,
yeah, you still fucked these ladies over.
John Krasinski, no, fuck you. Why was that scene even in there? I'm sorry. About her being like, I want to be in a spy movie and not in a Cleopatra movie. And I'm like, well...
Again, very much based off of Motown, because Berry Gordy was pushing Diana Ross's, film career, and he was producing shit-ass movies, so...
But speaking of Diana Ross, the cocktail that I am going to pair with this film, I'm such a lazy bitch, I googled Diana Ross cocktail, and, with no other, I don't know if this is something she liked, if this is something that is related to her in any way, I don't know, it's just from silverscreensuppers.com, says that, gin, Lilith Rose, and Pichet, the P-E, and the E has the little cap over it, C-H-E. I don't know what any of that is.
Not a clue.
But it looks like a cunty little pink drink. It almost looks like a Cosmo, but it has three ingredients that are all liquor, and I feel like you gotta kind of get sauced up so that you can sing Listen along with Beyonce. Yeah. When she drops that, as bad as it will be, you will get a noise complaint from your neighbors. Cause you gotta be sauced up to be doing that. Mm-hmm. And then I also feel like you should, I don't really fuck with, like, I don't know, like, cupcakes, so I feel like maybe just, like, a personal, like, cake, like, I want a whole cake, a red velvet cake, and you just eat it yourself with a fork, because fuck the fat phobia, and fuck, everyone telling Jennifer Hudson that she's too big or whatever, and I'm like, I'm gonna eat my cake with my fork and drink my 3 liquor drink, and enjoy my size 10 pants, because, like, I'm sorry.
Life's too short.
Right.
We went a very similar route. I was thinking of Motown songs that I like, and I love the song, Please Mr. Postman. Love that song to death. That's one of my favorites. But I did the same thing. I googled, like, Postman cocktail. And I found one, shockingly. Actually, not shockingly. People will make a cocktail for any occasion. But this was boozy, and it's simple. It's stuff that you probably will have at your, like, in your home bar. And it also kind of sounds like something that I would make when I was, like, 19 and trying to make a cocktail in my college dorm room, and I like that. But it's 2 ounces of orange juice, 2 ounces of cranberry juice, 2 ounces of vodka, and an ounce of white rum, and a splash of grenadine.
Oh, slay.
Simple enough. Simple enough. I'll take it. I'm drinking it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And I felt like I wanted something to match that kind of, like, orange juice, cranberry juice, like, fruity energy. A pineapple upside down cake really speaks to me in a 60s kind of way. I think you make one of those. And I think you just go ham. Yeah, eat it with your hands. Fuck it.
Yeah. I've never had a pineapple upside down cake, but I know you can, like, put rum in it and then you can, like, torch it, I think. It's, like, a thing that I've seen them do.
Any kind of cake with rum in it is so fire. Oh!
Every time on Great British Bake Off, when they're like, we're making a rum baba this week, I'm like, I've never had it, and I want it, like, so bad. And then what movie are you going to follow this up with?
Is it bad if I say the White Savior musical Hairspray?
I mean, maybe a little bit.
There's just something about the music in that one, okay?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
something
same time period.
Something takes over me. I can't be helped. Like, I'm so serious. That is one of my movies that if I was comatose and you needed to get me out of it, if you put that on, one of those is going to take me right out. Right now, It would be Miss Baltimore Crabs.
Oh,
I was singing it while I was getting ready this morning.
Oh my god, I love that.
I never drank one chocolate malt.
Wait, why is that reminding me right now? My thing is also, you send them to me all the time, that girl who every day is saying the Jessica Lange, naughty pun, like that monologue. It reeks.
Place reeks. Catfish. What is this? Naughty pun.
If you put that on, good. I would snap. She
has quickly become my favorite TikToker. Mm-hmm. Her, and I've been following this guy who will do a series of Will It Martini, and he's done capers and pickled okra and what is it? Banana peppers. I'm tuned in. Those two I've made sure come across my feed every single day.
Oh my god. I'm
Love
obsessed.
it. But what are you following this up with?
I similarly, I think a musical movie, easy choice is Chicago. Same screenwriter, same sort of vibe. I think it's another great early 2000s movie musical example. I also think you can go ahead and watch the Beyonce Coachella performance in its entirety. That, moves me to tears. It gets I can't sit down while I watch that. I'm I have to be standing, and it, I have to engage my glutes, right? Because I'm holy shit, holy fuck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead and watch either of those, but I think an alternative third one, I think all the fucking time about the world in which A Star Is Born got made when Beyonce and Will Smith were signed on to play those two roles. Oh my god, what a different planet we would live on.
Life-changing.
So I think you can also go watch A Star Is Born, just keep that in your mind and think about it and feel some type of way, because I know I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then what are you gonna rate this out of 10? I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Hard 5.
It wasn't my favorite, but I think it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed myself while I watched it. I also thought the music fucking slapped. The songs I knew that were in there, the 2 songs that I knew, I was yes, hitting on it. And I kind of liked the way music was integrated into this. I always think it's so funny when 2 characters are talking to each other, and then all of a sudden somebody's that, yeah. That really just tickles me. But overall, I do think that this really fell victim to being an early 2000s adaptation.
Yes. Yeah.
I also think
it's very much, I didn't love it, but I didn't dislike it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I just wish there was more standout songs, also. Mm-hmm. It was good, but there wasn't anything besides Jennifer's song and what's Beyonce's?
Listen, yeah.
Listen. Besides those 2, nothing really grabbed me. And again, the Eddie Murphy ones really took me out of it.
Yeah, not the best.
Yeah, the girls' performances are also the only things that really kept me in it.
Mm-hmm, for sure. But I think as far as our introducing month goes, this is really a good one to start with. Because Miss J. Hud, she delivered.
Mm-hmm.
And stay tuned for next week when we will be covering Monster House with our friends from over on the Pop Culture Vultures podcast. I think if you like our podcast, you will really enjoy theirs as well. Absolutely. They do just general media coverage, but it's just, 2 friends shooting the shit. Very similar. This was a vibes-based match for them coming on our show for sure. So I would highly recommend that you check them out before we link up next week. And as always, all the links to all that shit is in the description below. We love you all. Thank you for listening. And goodbye and good night.
Mwah.